Hey everyone, thank you for clicking, I really appreciate it. Now, before I get into the meat of this video, which is obviously, going to be installing the camshafts on the GS here, I just want to talk a little bit about the channel. So, the main goal of this is to help you guys. And that is going to be just me covering what I do every day here. I'm lucky enough to do this for a profession. And I know a lot of this stuff can be mysterious or overwhelming, and I'm here to try to take out some of that mystery. Now, I'm learning along the way, but my goal has been to just make some clear content on how to do certain jobs, some things that might seem overwhelming, and maybe show some different fabrication techniques, and just, I don't know, just how to think through a problem. So if there's something that you want to see that would help you, please request. Please just, put a comment in. I read them all. I try to reply to every one of them. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, because, that just helps, that helps me grow, and that'll help, me bring more content to you guys as we go. Now, another thing is with these videos, just to kind of give you an idea, I know that there's probably a lot of installation or a lot of episodes. They're all broken out into episodes, and I try to do that to keep them on point in a singular focus video. So like this one, it's just mainly going to cover the camshafts, like the cylinder honing. We're just doing the cylinder honing. So I'm just trying to give you guys a resource for anybody searching on how to do a specific job. There's a video for that, and it's going to be clear, and there shouldn't be any mystery. And then lastly, within those videos, in every description, I'm going to have a link, and link to either the parts I've used, the tools I've used, or links to articles on maybe how I came about the decisions I made in that video, or why I used certain components, or why I did something a certain way. I do that with every video, so be sure to check that stuff out. There's there's links to everything, so there will be one in each one. And then, yeah, enjoy the video here. And again, I just appreciate every follower, every like, comment. I just appreciate everything. So thank you guys for sticking around with me, and let's just keep going. And I'll look for you in the next video. Thanks. Alright, we are jumping straight back into it. If you haven't seen the last video where we assembled the top end and got the head torqued down, go ahead and check that out. But in that video, I test fit this cam guide to make sure that I knew exactly how it should feel and fit whenever I went to this point right now. So that was step one. And we're going to go ahead and get this installed before going ahead and getting the cams. Alright, so before we throw the camshafts in this thing, I'm just trying to put oil all throughout the engine. So, and then one crucial spot is the holes to actually oil the camshafts. So when you're cranking the bike over, it's got to work oil from the bottom to the top. So to help with that, I'm going to go ahead and try to just use this and fill up this entire orifice, so it has at least more oil than none in it, Alright guys, it is time to get these camshafts in. So I'm going to do this the best I can with a single camera angle, and I'm going to end up putting another couple pieces of video in here as I go. Anyway, the first thing you want to do here, what I've already done, is I've put the bike to top dead center on the right cylinder. And right now I just grabbed the exhaust cam out. You have the tachometer drive on this side. I'm going to go ahead and just slide it in. And you will note the orientation of this, if you can see it, that groove. I know that needs to be basically facing straight left along the surface of the gasket surface here. So I'm going to pull slack out on the front, go ahead and get the cam set down in here. Okay, so if I rotate it, it stops about right there. Alright. I'm just going to play with this a bit, make sure it's where I need to be. Now the exhaust on the left cylinder is trying to compress the spring, so what I'm going to have to do, I have to put the caps on and slowly torque it while trying to keep this in place. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and grab those caps. I have those in my bin, and then these, you can see, this one is an example. It's missing one of the dowels. Now I have all the dowels, but you just need to make sure that you get all of them in there. So some came out, some I pulled out of the head itself, some I just, pulled out of here. And then these are labeled. There's an A on that one, so it's A, B, C, D. And there's another marking within the head that you can see. So we're just going to start very slow here. Very slowly, just drawing the cam down. A little bit at a time, do not rush. Up. Alright, see, I let it slip. Now I gotta start over. Okay. So our groove pointed sideways, and then there's a number 1 arrow, which is hard to see on the side of the cam lobe here, and that's even with the surface of the gasket surface, I should say. Now we can go ahead and get our intake cam in, and this one also has a groove on the end of the cam, so that's the one you want to focus on. And that one's going to be pointing to the inside. Now basically what you're after here is like 18 pins from mark to mark on here on the 450s. So we're going to try to get it close. Alright, so before we install the cam chain tensioner, we need to relieve all of the tension off of it. So to do that, you got your lock screw, and you got your set screw there, and then there's this knurled piece. So what you want to do, break that lock nut loose, rotate this back, counterclockwise. See what I'm doing here? So I can't push that any further. Rotate that, drags it in. While you're holding it, screw in that screw right there, and that's going to hold it while you insert it into the bike. So, and once you're in there, then you're going to crack that loose. It's going to relieve the tension, and then go ahead and tension the guide. That's how that works. Alright, so it's a new day, and man, I was getting frustrated with this thing last night. It just, I was just having a couple little issues, you know, just from me, you know, you saw the exhaust cam basically skipping in the chain, you know, which is like, you're fighting valve tension or valve spring tension, so that's going to happen. It's just trial and error. You're going to get it right eventually, but just to do a quick rundown of the timing process or how to install the camshafts on this thing, to just go back over what I was talking about. So you want to make sure you have the bike at top dead center on the right cylinder, and you're going to look for that T mark. There's a T. There's an R. It's right side on the advancer there. It's R, and then there's a T mark for top dead center, and then what you're going to do, you start installing the exhaust cam. Now, you want to feed it through, and then you want to make sure there's no slack on the front here. And then what you're looking for is this notch, that notch right there. If you look, it's level with the gasket surface. And then there's also a number 1. So that number 1 is basically your first visual mark. And you look here, there's a number 2. Number 2 right there at that pin. So once you get that lined up in there, then you can start working the caps down. You have to hold the chain. You have to hold the chain onto the sprocket itself, and then once you have that locked down, try to keep a hand on it, and then you can start feeding in your intake cam. And then from there, again, you're gonna look at your notch, and the goal is to have it again level. So these notches are going to be pointing at each other. And then there's a marking on the intake cam. There's a number 3. So with a GS450, this varies between 450, GS400, and GS425 because there's a different cam chain tensioner setup. So what you're looking for is, once you have the exhaust cam locked down, there is 18 pins between your number 2 mark and your number 3 mark. So keep that in mind. That's something you want to shoot for. So I had to actually readjust it at one point. I thought I had them locked down, just didn't seem right, so going back, checking it, I had to actually rotate the intake cam one tooth, but got them locked down. Bike rolls over, feels like it has great compression. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get the valve cover on, get this thing sealed up, and then go ahead and start getting the carbs on, and this thing should be a runner before too long. I still have to make the plug wires here, so I will show that as well. Alright guys, real quick here, I want to talk about fuel filters and fuel lines, installation, why you need to do something like this. So with all these old bikes, especially just a focus on carbureted bikes, it's very important that you have a fuel filter. Whether that be in tank, like above the petcock, built into the petcock, or in line such as this one, it's something you need because you do not want to pass particulates or debris past your needles and seats, because that can cause them to be stuck open, causing fuel flow that goes into your airbox or into your intake, therefore into your crankcase, and then eventually it's just going to end up on the floor in your garage. So you definitely don't want to you don't want to skip this step. This is cheap. This is easy. So what I use is a simple quarter-inch inline filter and some 1/4 inch or 3/16 line, depending on what your other fittings are. This comes from Motion Pro. I got it through Dime City Cycles. That's usually where I get it, so I will link in the description where I got this. But what I use is a little bit of heat, and then sometimes, if needed, I either use a little bit of like Vaseline or brake clean to help get that slid on. Sometimes they're really tight. So anyway, I'll show you how I do this real quick. I know I want to position the filter pretty close to the bottom here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll cut my extra piece off. Alright. We will then throw a little heat to it. I can kind of tell when it's ready because it starts rolling over on the end. That gets pretty soft. There's that. Put a little heat in the top. There's a direction on your flow. Pay attention to that. Slide that on. Lather, rinse, repeat. Just be sure you cut it a bit long, that way you can route it where you want, get it fitted, trim it, and then do the final install.